Make sure your insurance doesn't come up short. Get gap cover with ALA. For more information, follow the links in the description.
Hello everybody. Just recently I reviewed the legendary Aston Martin V8 Vantage V600 Le Mans. 600 horsepower and 2 tons of handcrafted British beef. The very last of the old school handmade cars assembled in a process that took no fewer than 1,200 man-hours, built in limited quantities and with a price the same as a rather nice house of the day. It is no wonder then that if you want to pick one up now, you'll have to part with £400,000. But what if I told you there were a car out there that gave you 90% of the experience for 25% of the price? A car that sounds just like that one that you could have for less than the price of a new, no options 911 Carrera? Interested? Well, the car is real. Today I'm driving it. It's called the Aston Martin V8 Coupe, and those in the know say it is the best kept secret in the Aston Martin world. Are they wrong, or are they right? Let's find out together in today's episode of JayEmm on Cars. This is one of those delightful little bonus videos that I didn't expect to make, but I'm so glad that I am. You see, as mentioned, I have recently reviewed the V600 Le Mans, the icon, the very last of old-fashioned Aston Martins. Just 40 ever made, and every single one of them truly special. And though for you it may have been a matter of weeks, perhaps even months, in the real world, I got out of that car only a few minutes ago. And though a car like that really is worth anywhere from £300,000 to £500,000, this very V8 Coupe is currently up for sale with Nicholas Mee for just $89,995. And on the face of it, it's basically the same thing. So what's going on? Allow me to explain. The story begins at the end of the 1980s. Aston Martin introduced their new model. They call it the Virage. Though it looks like a genuinely all-new car, underneath a lot of componentry is carried over from the cars of old, which essentially dates back all the way to the DBS of the 1960s. This means a handmade steel chassis with an aluminium skin on top. It is very much a continuation of the old Superleggera construction method. Effectively, the bodywork is for display purposes only. The only thing being, it's not very Superleggera, these cars weighing in at the thick end of 2 tons. Up front you will find the 5.3 litre Tedek designed V8, which in this car makes around 360 horsepower. Inside you'll then find something of a hodgepodge, a combination of the finest materials known to man wrapped around the cheapest switches that you could buy. And so this really is a reflection of the state of Aston Martin at the time. As ever, the company didn't really have any money, and they tried to do as much as they could with the little that they had. And it was around this time that Ford began their acquisition of the company, first buying a share of it in 1987, and later the rest of it in around 1993. Though certainly both a tangible and much needed update, the Virage just didn't satisfy Aston Martin customers, and so they did what they did best, threw power at the problem. And so in 1993 they announced the V8 Vantage. And very quickly, all was forgiven. They strapped a pair of superchargers to the car, gave it bigger, beefier bodywork, and everybody fell in love once again, with this car being one of the most powerful in the world. So successful was this transformation that a couple of years in, they then used it as the basis of a revision to the Virage. That took place in 1996, and when it did, the name was dropped. The new one being called simply the V8 Coupe. And that is what we're driving today. So you've got more or less the same chassis as you would in a Vantage, very similar styling, though without the bodywork extensions and without the frippery of the Le Mans that I've just driven. But up front, you've still got that very same 5.3 litre 32 valve hand-assembled engine, albeit without the superchargers and associated plumbing. And following customer demand, they all came with a GM-sourced 4-speed automatic gearbox. The car I am driving today is an early 1997 model, currently sat on just 22,611 miles. 612. It looks amazing in this shade called Buckingham Green, absolutely sensational. Surely the colour for an Aston. And in here you have the classic combination of acres of leather, plenty of wood, and still very cheap switchgear. They did update the model a little bit as time went on. Nicholas Mee also have a slightly later 1999 car in dark blue, and that you can tell is different by the door handles, which are certainly better, the seats, which are slightly different and now have the controls integrated into them, and there are a few other detail changes too. By and large though, there's not much different. All of these cars are Aston Martins of the old school. I think they look pretty decent, certainly not quite as beautiful as the old 80s items, however, they've got a charm of their own, and they certainly drive a lot better than those cars. And this one comes complete with a sports exhaust, meaning when you press the loud pedal, it sounds like an Aston should. And here's the thing, knowing this car has quite so much less power than that V600, I'm all the keener to use it, knowing that it's far more capable and able to deal with what you ask of it. And yeah, I can feel a difference between the two, not just in terms of pace, that one was noticeably quicker, but in terms of the chassis setup too. They both have a little bit of chatter about them. They've got that very distinctive body-on-frame feeling. Small imperfections in the road do send a little bit of a ripple through the chassis, and they always feel a little bit firmer than you might expect. However, get them on a decent piece of road, get them in a fast bend, and they are very happy things indeed. And, in all honesty, bury the pedal, the gearbox will change down, and it still moves. And you know something? These are cars that I've been aware of for ages, but also just completely ignorant of, for one reason and really one reason alone. They're not the Vantage. That's the one you lost after. That's the one that you want. But the sensible money says there is an awful lot going for these. And here to me is how a car like this now makes some sense. Let's just imagine you've been thinking of treating yourself to an Aston for a while. Maybe you're thinking of buying a DBS or a V12 Vantage S, something like that. You're spending 80, 90, £100,000. And you know you're only going to use it occasionally. You're going to take it to the pub. Maybe you've got dreams of taking it to Le Mans for the classic, that sort of thing. Well, first off, this has more room in it. And in fact, thanks to these seats, it's got more room in it than the Vantage as well, and probably also the other later V8. There's decent sized seats in the back, and the boot is huge, easily double the size of a DB9. And if you thought they were rare, wait till you hear this. Aston Martin built, across a period of about 4 years, just 101 of these. So you go and buy a V8 Vantage, V12 Vantage, DBS, there's always a good chance you take it to the Grand Prix, go somewhere like that, you'll bump into another one. Buy something like this though, and the chances of finding another, well, they're pretty slim. And though I know for the most part we like to think that we'll spend every single minute driving these cars on the absolute ragged edge, the reality is most of the time it's on roads like this, which are pretty but have traffic, they have speed limits, all that kind of stuff going on. And sure, with something like this, it's less capable, you'll go slower, you'll also have more fun doing it, you'll feel more involved, more part of the experience. And yeah, sure, I know what you're thinking. James, okay, great. You look at one of these, it's beautiful, it sounds good and all that, but you buy one and it'll empty your wallet before you could say, is that plus VAT? And I'm never going to pretend that these are going to be cheap cars to run. They will probably be more expensive than, say, a new V8 Vantage. But nor are they quite as ruinous to run as the equivalent Vantage of their day. To give you an example, to get to the spark plugs in one of those, you have to take off all the supercharger gubbins. So it's about a 14-hour job. In this, 2 hours, because they're right there. And from in here, I gotta be perfectly honest with all of you, I prefer being in this. The auto box is maybe not the best, but the manual is also a little bit fiddly in the Vantage. This is certainly a more comfortable car, feels a little bit more at ease on a road like this. It's a great thing to be in. And if maybe what they say is true, and one day those £400,000 Le Mans become £1 million Le Mans, I'm not sure it's going to happen, but hey, I never thought we'd see £1 million DB5s, £100,000 Escorts. They'll drag everything else with them. So your money in this should be pretty safe. Buy this one and Nicholas Mee will also chuck in a year's warranty as well, so you've got at least 12 months fairly worry-free motoring ahead. All you've got to do is get the fuel money together, and yeah, that's not going to be particularly cheap, but hey, it's an old Aston. What did you expect? And look, as an investment, sure, the Vantage is always going to be the one, and that Le Mans, it's the daddy. But to drive, sure, there's differences. Are they differences that matter today? No, not really. You buy a car like this, you don't really care about the performance of it. You're certainly not going to take it around the Nürburgring. Instead, you buy it for the experience. And to this, it's not 90% of it, it's 100% of the old school Aston Martin experience. Just at a lower price of entry. I like this car a lot. Would I change my 550 for one? No, I don't think so. Would I have one instead of a 456? Yeah, I think I would. So, there we go. That's a quick little look at what I think is a very much overlooked car. What do you think? Would you do it? Or would you just wait it out and save up for the Vantage? Answers on a postcard, or even better, in the comment section down below. All then that remains to be said is a big thank you to Nicholas Mee for allowing me to drive their car today, and of course, to you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.